In Norway, there is a word for it. Dugnad. It means a day when the entire community comes together to accomplish a task too large for one household. For over 1,000 years, one of the most common dugnads was building a sod roof. Neighbors would arrive with birch bark, stripped in spring, sod cut from pasture land, and by the end of the day, a home would have a new roof. A roof that grew wildflowers. A roof that insulated against Arctic cold. A roof that absorbed rain and sheltered hundreds of species of plants and insects. A roof that cost nothing. Today, the average American pays thousands for a petroleum-based shingle roof that lasts 20 years, insulates almost nothing, and dumps 11 million tons of waste into landfills every single year. The Norwegians did not buy roofs, they grew them together. Then the roofing industry made that seem backward. Let that settle for a moment. The roof over your head right now was manufactured. Someone mined the raw materials, heated them, pressed them, coated them, packaged them, shipped them across a country or an ocean, and sold them to a contractor who charged you thousands of dollars to nail them onto plywood. If your roof is asphalt shingles, which covers roughly 80% of American homes, then your roof is made of three things: fiberglass mat, petroleum-derived asphalt, and ceramic-coated mineral granules. The fiberglass provides structure. The asphalt, which is the heavy black residue left over from petroleum refining, provides waterproofing. The granules provide color and limited UV protection. The insulation value of this entire assembly is 0.44. To put that in perspective, a single pane of glass has an insulation value of 0.91. Your roof insulates less than a window. It absorbs enormous amounts of solar heat in summer, radiating it into your attic and driving up cooling costs. It cracks and degrades under ultraviolet radiation, and after 15 to 25 years, depending on quality, it fails. It gets torn off, and it goes to a landfill where, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, between 11 and 13 million tons of asphalt shingles accumulate every year in the United States alone. Each shingle takes 300 to 400 years to decompose. That is the product the $151 billion global roofing materials industry sells you. Now consider what it replaced. The sod roof, also called a turf roof, is a traditional Scandinavian roofing system that has been used since prehistory. The archaeological and historical record indicates that roofs in Scandinavia were covered with birch bark and sod since before written history began. During the Viking Age and the Middle Ages, most houses had sod roofs. In rural areas, they were nearly universal until the early 18th century. This was not a regional quirk. This was the dominant roofing technology of an entire civilization for over 1,000 years. The construction is elegant in its simplicity. You start with gently sloping wooden roof boards. On top of those boards, you lay sheets of birch bark, stripped from trunks in spring or early summer, while the sap runs. One lengthwise cut down a trunk between two branches produces a sheet as wide as the circumference. The outer bark is peeled away from the inner layer. Removing the outer bark does not kill the tree. A new coarser bark grows back. The sheets are stored flat under pressure to prevent curling, then laid directly onto the roof boards, overlapping from the eaves upward like shingles, with extra long sheets straddling the ridge. 6 layers of birch bark were considered adequate. High-quality roofs used as many as 16, no nails, no adhesive. Friction alone holds the bark against the rough-hewn boards. Birch bark is naturally waterproof, roach-resistant, and strong enough to last a generation. Take a breath, on top of the birch bark goes the sod. Turf cut from good pasture land, preferably with sandy soil and deep-rooted grass. Each piece roughly 1 foot square and about 3 inches thick. The first layer is placed grass side down. The dead grass protects the bark from acidic humus and acts as a drainage layer. The second layer goes grass side up to establish a living surface. Over time, the roots from both layers bond together into one solid structure. The total thickness sits around 15 centimeters, enough to survive a dry summer without the vegetation dying. The finished roof looks like a meadow, because it is one, and that meadow does things that no manufactured roofing product on Earth can do. It insulates. The combination of soil, root structure, trapped air, and vegetation creates a thermal barrier that keeps interiors warm in winter and cool in summer. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, green roofs can reduce the cooling load on a building by 70%. They lower indoor air temperature by up to 27 degrees Fahrenheit compared to conventional roofs, The surface temperature of a green roof runs 56 degrees Fahrenheit lower than a conventional roof on the same day. A sod roof does not just sit on your house. It actively regulates the temperature inside it. It absorbs water. A conventional roof sheds 100% of rainfall directly into gutters, downspouts, and storm drains, contributing to urban flooding and carrying pollutants into waterways. A green roof retains 60 to 100% of rainfall from most storm events. On an annual basis, a 4-inch green roof retains over 50% of total precipitation. The soil absorbs the water, the roots hold it, the plants use it, and what remains drains slowly rather than flooding all at once. In a world increasingly defined by extreme rainfall events, the sod roof does not fight water. It drinks it. It grows life. A study on traditional Scandinavian turf roofs at the Skansen Open Air Museum in Stockholm, roofs that were established roughly 40 years ago, documented 76 species of higher vascular plants growing on the turf. A broader study cited by the French research outlet Weedmain found that green roofs in urban environments supported 200 plant species, 70% of which arrived naturally through wind and bird dispersal. Along with approximately 300 animal species, including around 250 insects, bees, beetles, spiders, ants, and nesting birds, all find habitat on a living roof. In Scandinavia, it was traditional to cultivate specific drought-resistant plants on sod roofs to ensure survival through dry summers. Among the most common were Sempervivum tectorum, the common house leek, whose Latin name literally means always alive on the roof. The Romans planted it in courtyard pots. Charlemagne ordered it grown on roofs across his empire. Medieval communities believed it protected against lightning. The plant is still alive on Scandinavian turf roofs today. Pause on that. A plant ordered onto rooftops by Charlemagne over 1,200 years ago is still growing on the same type of roof in the same part of the world. And the weight of the sod roof was not a weakness. It was an engineering feature. A sod roof weighs approximately 250 kilograms per square meter. In winter, with snow, that increases to 400 or 500. This enormous mass compresses the log walls beneath it, pressing them together, eliminating gaps, making the structure more draft-proof. The roof was not just shelter, it was structural. It locked the building tight against the Arctic cold by the sheer force of its own weight. The community understood all of this. That is why the dugnad existed. Building or replacing a sod roof was labor-intensive, but required no purchased materials. Birch bark is ubiquitous across northern Europe. Sod comes from pastureland. The construction could be done in a single day with enough hands. 2 workers would cooperate on the same strip of roof, one laying birch bark, the other placing sod on top before the bark could curl in the wind. Neighbors showed up. The work was done. A household had a new roof. No invoice, no contractor, no supply chain, no debt. This was architecture built entirely on cooperation, local materials, and accumulated knowledge passed from generation to generation. The Vikings took this technology to the extreme. On the Lofoten Islands, 300 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a Viking chieftain's longhouse at a site called Borg. It measured 83 meters in length. The largest Viking longhouse ever discovered. The roof was sod. Turf walls and turf roof insulated the structure through winters of near total darkness and temperatures far below freezing. Inside, a central hearth and the thermal mass of the earth itself kept the inhabitants alive. This was not a hut. This was a hall, and its roof was a meadow growing above the Arctic Circle over 1,000 years ago. The tradition extended beyond Scandinavia. In Iceland, Viking settlers adapted the sod roof to an even harsher climate, building entire turf houses where walls and roof merged into a single insulated shell. The Glaumber Turf Farm in northern Iceland, a former vicarage, is now a protected site owned by the National Museum of Iceland. The turf house tradition of Iceland was nominated for UNESCO World Heritage status in 2011. These were not curiosities. They were the backbone of a civilization that survived in one of the most inhospitable climates on Earth, using nothing but earth, wood, and bark. So what happened? In the 19th century, tile roofs spread from towns to rural areas. Corrugated iron arrived. Industrial materials became cheap and abundant. The sod roof, which required communal labor and local knowledge, was replaced by products that could be manufactured, shipped, and sold. The roofing industry did not prove that asphalt shingles were better. It simply made them available faster and at scale. The dugnad faded, the knowledge eroded. And within a few generations, the most sophisticated living roofing system in human history was reframed as a relic of poverty rather than a triumph of engineering. But the numbers tell a different story. A green roof lasts 40 to 50 years because the vegetation layer protects the waterproofing membrane beneath it from UV radiation and extreme temperature swings. The two primary forces that destroy conventional roofs. The National Park Service confirms that a well-maintained green roof can more than double the lifespan of the underlying membrane. An asphalt shingle roof lasts 15 to 25 years. A sod roof with birch bark waterproofing served roughly 30 years before the bark needed replacement, a task accomplished in a single dugnad. The structure itself, the log building beneath the sod, could stand for centuries. An asphalt shingle insulates at 0.44. A green roof with 100 to 150 millimeters of growing medium provides 37% higher thermal resistance than a standard roof assembly and delivers the 70% cooling load reduction measured by the EPA. A sod roof at 15 centimeters of living earth exceeds this. An asphalt shingle absorbs and re-radiates solar heat, contributing to urban heat islands where city temperatures run 5 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit higher than surrounding rural areas. A sod roof absorbs carbon dioxide, releases oxygen, and cools the surrounding air through evapotranspiration. It does not create heat islands, it dissolves them. An asphalt shingle generates 11 to 13 million tons of landfill waste per year in the United States. A sod roof, at the end of its life, is dirt and grass. It decomposes in months. It was biodegradable before the word existed. And here's where the story becomes something more than engineering. The roofing industry is worth over $150 billion. It depends on products that fail. A roof that lasts 15 years guarantees a replacement cycle. A roof that needs proprietary materials guarantees a supply chain. A roof that requires licensed contractors guarantees labor costs. The entire model depends on you being unable to build your own roof from materials available for free in your own landscape. The sod roof breaks every link in that chain. The materials cost nothing. The labor is communal. The lifespan is long. The insulation is superior. The environmental impact is not just low, it is restorative. In Germany today, an estimated 25% of rooftops are covered with green roofs. The Scandinavian Green Roof Association has awarded an annual prize for the best green roof project since the year 2000. In Norway, sod roofs are still widely used on newly built cabins and holiday homes. Now constructed with modern bitumen felt and dimpled drainage membranes in place of birch bark, but with the same living turf on top. In April of 2026, the oldest building in the town of Ulsteinvik, Norway, a medieval structure, received a brand new sod roof. Birch bark laid on wooden boards, sod on top, the same technique used 1,000 years ago, applied to a building that has stood for centuries, renewed for centuries more. The technology is not lost. It never was. It was simply made to seem like something it is not. The word primitive comes from the Latin primitivus, meaning first or earliest. In that sense, the sod roof is indeed primitive. It is among the first roofing systems ever devised by human beings. It is also by every modern Met.